Good evening. My name is Morgan Kennedy Short, and I'm going to be doing my COMM415 final assignment, which is my oral report, as a requirement for the Bachelor of Applied Geographic Information Sciences as instructed by Dr. Donna Campbell. For the next 8 to 10 minutes, I would request that all cell phones be put away or at least put on silent. After I'm done the question period, you can do whatever you want with your phones. For this project, it was my goal to go out and do research on a subject and then bring that research back and relay it to an audience. The task of this was to show that we had the ability and the commonplace to go out and research expertly and come back to an audience with the right information. For this project, I am doing Golder Associates. They are a Canadian-made company that are a huge presence in the GIS and global community, as well as talking about the peoples and practices that make Golder the juggernaut in the oil and gas and environmental assessment industry as it is today. My goal is to show that I have an ability to gather information as well as to relay that information to an audience, and to show how much of a good Canadian company Golder Associates actually are. Golder Associates' old logo versus their new logo. Things you need to know about Golder Associates. They became a company in 1960. Three environmental surveyors came together and made a company that would grow up into one of the largest Canadian companies in the world. They now employ over 6,500 employees in 165 different locations in 30 different countries. Their main base is in Mississauga, Ontario, where there are about 50 other locations across Canada, the most being in Ontario and BC. Their current global president and CEO is Dr. Hisham Mahmood. He only joined up with the company in 2015, so he hasn't been there that long, but supposedly they have flourished under his guidance. I chose this company because it was also the company I chose for the focus of my assignment number 2, which was the resume project. Through that, I discovered that they were a very strong Canadian company, and I wanted to see if I could find more information about them. They are also very heavy in the oil and gas industry, and as for my current employment, that's huge. I obtained all my information on this project from online resources as well as from a source that used to work from Golder. Golder's area of expertise. My first step in this project was to investigate what Golder could do. I came to find out that there were many sectors and services that Golder provided. Few of the sectors that they were huge in are mining, transportation, manufacturing, power and utilities, oil and gas. Huge around the globe. Any of those industries are going to be big for your company. The services that they provide: ground engineering, construction support, design, waste management, and environmental assessments. Even though there are a ton of different things that Golder does, I will be focusing on environmental assessments and oil and gas. Oil and gas because that's where I'm currently employed. Environmental assessments because I have a huge stake in how companies hold themselves on the environmental assessment stage. The importance of environmental risk assessment. Within all GIS industries, it doesn't matter what type of job you're doing, you'll have an impact on the environment. Golder goes a step further, and they do things, but they get involved in the community by being a part of international councils of mining and metals. They got involved with, there was an issue about 2010-2011 with tailing dams, which BC and Brazil, they were failing. So a tailing dam is a earthy embankment used to house toxic runoff from mining resources and whatnot. They were starting to burst, and there were a few cases in Brazil where people actually died. So Golder, because of their environmental risk assessment plans and the stuff that they do, were brought in to basically write the laws and the policies on how this stuff was managed. This is a tailing dam. As you can see, it's an embankment just holding toxic runoff. Golder, one of the services that they provide is called an ESIA, which is an environmental and social impact assessment. This basically writes how a project is going to be done for a company from start to finish. It allows the company to design, implement, and see issues before they happen, as well as gives them tools to mitigate and to monitor the project afterwards. It's one of Golder's Associates' biggest products that they can give to a company. They do this through a multidisciplinary approach to environmental assessment by using surveying and GPS to manipulation with AutoCAD and MicroStation. They employ the most skilled professionals with the most up-to-date technology. Here we have a quote for you. We help clients achieve corporate social responsibility and environmental stewardship when designing, developing, operating, and decommissioning a project. This is a biodiversity specialist and senior impact assessment, Mervyn Mason from the Australia branch. What this says is that from start to finish, they will make sure a company knows how to get the job done and do it well within an environmental risk assessment. Environmental contacts, Roberto Mezzalama is the principal, while Mark Shabat is the director of major client programs. We got two projects here as an example. The first one is in Melbourne, Australia. It was an assessment and reclamation project. This site here was used to create and store harmful chemicals and explosives, but it has since been trying to be reclamated into a deer park. There's already a deer park around it, but they're trying to expand. So Golder was brought in to use their expertise to make the land safe again. Right now there's a lot of issues with the groundwater, but this task is still set to be completed in 2022. They're completing this project by using surveyors with tablets and using ArcGIS, which is an Esri Suite product that allows for very accurate mapping. The second project is in Christchurch, which is in New Zealand. A bunch of earthquakes had happened which demolished a major road, and the whole area was deemed unsafe. Golder was brought in to use drone technology, 3D mapping, and planned explosives to stabilize the area. And just in March of this year, Golder was able to help rebuild the road to take strain off of the other tunnels and allow tourism to be resparked in the area. Sustainable solutions for oil and gas. Oil and gas is very huge to me. I've been working in the oil and gas industry since 2013. I understand there is a huge push for renewable energies and a cleaner source. That's necessary. However, it's not going to happen overnight, so I would prefer Canadians use better practices to obtain that oil than using oil taken in dirtier conditions. Golder Associates have over 40 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, from all over the world to the Alberta oil sands to the Wissapoo pipeline, which we'll be discussing in a second here. They have a huge stake in the global oil and gas market. This is a project that they did in Queensland Curtis. It's the Queensland Curtis LNG project in Australia. It is one of their largest projects to date. It started in 2008. It is a $20 billion infrastructure project that involved them using over 50 staff over 7-8 years to build. It was one of the more harder projects for them to do, because when you're dealing with water and LNG, there's a lot of issues. Whenever a project involving liquid natural gas close to a delicate ecosystem like water, there's always an issue with contaminating the water source. But in all the years that Golder's been working on this project, they haven't had a single issue with this project. This is another project. Getting close on time, so I'm just going to go fast through these. This is a project closer to home. This is within Alberta itself. It is a 400-kilometer line stretching from Cheecham to Fort Saskatchewan. Golder was brought in to consult on First Nations issues, as well as become the go-to person between regulatory and civilian entities. Golder's involvement in the project has only added to the size of the resume and has proven that they are a well-trusted engineering and environmental company. This is another quote. This is from a different company talking about Golder. It was quickly apparent that Golder employees were immediately able to handle any part of the task. When other groups needed help, Golder stepped in and saved the day. Golder was committed to quality. They were a breath of fresh air in their work, their attitude, and their dedication to professionalism. Joanna Horn, gas engineer from the Pacific Gas and Electric Company. The oil and gas contacts for Golder, David Bourbeau is the principal and vice president, while Andre Chiampo is the client sector leader. Okay, coming down to the last parts of the slide, so I know I'm coming close to my goal. When I reached out to Golder, all 4 times I was, I wouldn't say ignored, but I hadn't heard anything back from them. I reached out 4 times, didn't get anything back, so I figured to go into a different direction. Luckily, I have a friend of mine who graduated a year after me, who ended up working with them for a year, so I was able to get a little bit of insight into how they work as employees. But I also used 2 different sites to analyze current and ex-employees, which was Indeed.com and Glassdoor.ca. These are websites for people to go in and critique or show off what they know about their job and how they like their employers. Now, as I say here, these sites can be misleading because you do have people trying to pump up the score by being promoters, and then you get those who are jaded trying to drag a name through the ground. I took this into consideration. It's still nice to see where people rank these 2 companies. In terms of Indeed.com, Golder Associates was given a 3.7 star rating with 335 reviews. Most of these were pretty standard, people talking about how the company had a great work environment and employees were awesome. The main complaint going out through all this was that there were few opportunities to advance. It seems a lot of people were upset with the corporate structure and how people would get promoted. I did a sample size of 100 reviews for this, so I could just see what everyone was complaining about. And then you got the normal, not enough pay, too many work hours, but in this industry, that's expected at this point. Whereas with Glassdoor.ca, they had a slightly lower score at 3.2 with over 500 reviews. These were a little bit the same. It seems that everyone is very happy working with employees from Golder, which is great. But this one had a more common theme of what everyone was unhappy about, and that was about mental health. It turns out that while they preach words about mental health a lot, they don't back them up. So I found that in another 100 sample review, that happened a lot. My friend, Robin Fleet Party, was someone who graduated after me. She went straight from graduation to working with Golder for a year, but then left because of personal and health reasons. So she was able to let me know what it was like for a junior GIS analyst working at Golder. In terms of technology, she was thrown right into AutoCAD MicroStation, which was difficult for her because her 2 years at the college we both attended was all ArcGIS. So even though she was qualified based on having a diploma for geomatics, she needed more education to become a valuable employee, and she wished that she was trained more. So that was a little bit of an issue for her. But once they realized that she was good in a ArcGIS environment, they threw her onto their new database project. So she got to learn how the data was taken. Golder does a lot of work with drones and UAVs. They do a lot of on-the-ground research with a lot of different technologies that she didn't have much exposure to, but she did remember spending many days digitizing and working with LiDAR. At the end, she became very close to how their planning was going to go, but then due to social issues, she had to leave and she ended up moving back out east. So, in conclusion, Golder Associates is one of the largest Canadian companies in Canada. They house about 6,500 employees in 165 different locations, 50 different locations across Canada, and 30 different countries. You don't get that large in 60 years without doing something at least right. They are a pillar in the environmental assessment, as well as a leading edge competitor in the oil and gas industry. Their work is sought after, and everyone wants to work with Golder. On the personal level, however, due to the reviews and from my conversation with Bronwyn, it turns out that Golder is very good on the personal level, but when it comes to situations about mental health, there seems to be a little bit of a disconnect between management and employees. I would suggest, if you're going to go work for a company like this, that you do the research beforehand just so you know what you're getting into. Now I will allow for questions to be asked.
If you were given the opportunity, would you work at Golder?
Right now I'm very happy with the work that I'm doing and with the company I'm with. I'm not the type of person to let go of one monkey bar when I have a very good monkey bar in this hand. However, in this industry, if you're looking for work, you have to take it where you can get it. So even though all this issues with Golder, I would still, like with the personal and mental health stuff, I would still recommend working with Golder just from all the stuff that I've researched.
Okay, and with regards to the complaints about mental health in the workplace, how would you suggest Golder fix this?
Well, it's not a case of having to change everything. It's a case of having to just listen. It's great to tout that, oh, we need to talk, we need to have conversation, but it's become so prevalent in today's workplace that mental health is such a massive issue that companies that didn't have to deal with it back in the 60s, back in the 70s, have to start taking notice now. It's not a case of they're a terrible company, because they're not. It's a case of all they have to do is just start listening. It's not a huge climate issue. It's just a management issue that just needs to be, just sit down and have a conversation with your employees. And then you got our references. And that's the end of my conversation. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a good night.